Last night, the Rays' master plan worked to perfection as Steve Geltz and a host of relievers tossed a 2-hit shutout. And Steven Souza Jr. powered the offense as Tampa Bay cruised to a 5-0 win. Tonight, right-hander Chris Archer looks to continue his winning ways on the road as the Rays wrap up their series in our nation's capital. The Rays continue to run first in the American League East, and tonight they wrap up their 2-game set against the Nationals here in Washington, D.C. Rays winners last night, 5-0. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. Great to have you looking in tonight. Well, the Rays will send Chris Archer to the mound looking for a victory. For Chris Archer, this is where it all started in June of 2012. He made his major league debut, and he's out tonight for win number 8.
And for Chris Archer, his recent run of success, you can boil it down to 2 things. Number 1, strike 1, and number 2, 2 dominant pitches. He's been pitching ahead. He's been efficient. It's allowed him to get deep into games. You combine that with the fact that pitching ahead with his fastball and his slider, it's almost unfair to the opposition. Moving the fastball around the zone, both sides, up, down. That slider, he can keep it in the zone for the called strike, take it out of the zone for swings and misses, and it's led to those numbers right there. 55 strikeouts in 41 and a third innings, and just 6 walks on top of that. He is at the top of his game right now.
And with the last night's victory, the Rays have won 8 of their last 10 to continue to run first in the American League East. They will be opposed by Doug Fister, just coming off the disabled list. He'd had some forearm issues that has limited him to just 7 starts so far this year. Rays baseball coming up. 5-3 against the National League this year. Quick look at the starting lineup presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Finds Kevin Kiermaier leading off. Joey Butler back in there hitting in front of Evan Longoria. Forsythe, Souza Jr., Cabrera down the middle. Elmore, Rivera, and Archer to round out the Rays lineup. All set. The first pitch of this game presented by Pinch-A-Penny. And it's too low. We are underway right on time at 5 minutes past the hour.
Well, right-hander Doug Fister taking them out tonight. Limited to just 7 starts because of the forearm issue. And you're going to see the tall righty, a lot of fastballs working that ball downhill, not overpowering with the velocity, but he uses that pitch effectively around the zone and with good downhill angle.
He has a great approach. Pitch is fouled back. I remember Sandy Koufax used to say he'd go out every game with the intentions of pitching a perfect game, and when that first runner got on, he wanted to throw a no-hitter. Then when that hitter came up with maybe a base hit, probably not a double off him, then he wanted to pitch a shutout, and if they scored a run, he wanted to win that outing. Well, a similar approach here by Fister. There's a liner in the center and a base hit picked up on the short hop by Denard Span. Fister has that great sinker you talked about, and he wants to go out and throw 27 ground balls on 27 pitches.
That would be something else. I would love to see that. Let's take a look at the Nationals defense, brought to you by BMW. In the outfield, left to right, we have Taylor, Span, and Harper. Across the infield, third to first, Escobar, Desmond, Rendon, and Espinosa, with Ramos behind the plate.
Rays with a base runner and Joey Butler in the box right now. Pitch is too low. Fister had the flexor strain that kept him on the sideline, and tonight with this outing just back active off the disabled list.
In his final tune-up, threw the ball well at Harrisburg, 70 pitches. So you wonder how long Matt Williams will be willing to go with Doug Fister, coming off of the type of injury that he had, just a couple of rehab starts, and 70 pitches in the last and final one.
He's not going to be a hard thrower anyway, but before he went on the list, they said his velocity was in the low 80s. They knew something was wrong.
Oh, and he was really struggling too. His last start was May the 14th against the Padres. Gave up 7 earned runs in 2 innings in that start.
Ground ball sharply hit short. Desmond to second one, first base 2. Ian Desmond starts the double play. 6-4-3 on the hard hit ball off Joey Butler's bat.
Well, this ball was sharply hit. Ian Desmond, who has had his fair share of issues at shortstop, a nice peg there, and then over to Rendon, on over to Espinosa. Nicely turned by the Nats middle infielders.
There's Evan Longoria. Pitch is a ball. Evan at 274. He had a base hit and a run scored in last night's 5-0 victory. Two balls and a strike. Fister, a big part of this Washington success story last year when they were the champions in the NL East. He was a 16-game winner, 16-6. Two and 2.
And that was with an ERA of 2.41. Even besting what Jordan Zimmerman did. We saw last night he was a 14-game winner, had a 2.66, was a dominant staff.
Now the count will go full. A check swing by Longoria. Well, the Rays beat Jordan Zimmerman last night. They scored 3 of their 5 runs off him in the 7 innings he worked. And a cut and a miss. Longoria out in front. The Rays are out in the first. They do not score. See, light up for the Nationals, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Denard Span back in the lineup in center field, followed by Anthony Rendon, and then Yunel Escobar, Bryce Harper, Wilson Ramos, and Danny Espinoza down the middle. Ian Desmond at shortstop. Michael Taylor hits eighth in front of the pitcher Doug Fister.
Taking the mound tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays, of course, right-hander Chris Archer making his return almost 3 years ago to the day, and he's now 15, making his 15th start this year, and the numbers just outstanding. 113 strikeouts in 90 innings and an opponent's average of just 196.
Well, here's Denard Span, and the first pitch comes in a bit high. 1-0. Fielding Colbreth is calling the balls and strikes. He is the crew chief. If you take a look at Span's season's numbers, there's a strike.
Now, what kind of report do we have on Fielding Colbreth?
He's an interesting umpire. As you know, he's been around. He's a veteran umpire, and while the games that he calls tend to be a little higher in walks and hits, not necessarily translating into a lot of runs. So he's a bit of an enigma back there.
Just something else to keep your eye on. If there isn't enough in baseball already, and you can kind of watch, because here's the thing, as much as they want to make the strike zone an entity that is just consistent throughout, you still have different human beings making the call.
The human element.
That's right. And so they will be different. Some favor pitchers, some favor the hitters.
Archer behind 3-1, and there is a walk to start this game. Speed at first now for Washington.
Well, let's take a quick look at the Rays defense and see how it's going to line up tonight. Brought to you by BMW. In the outfield left to right, we've got Butler, Kiermaier, and Souza Jr. Across the infield, third to first, Longoria, Cabrera, Forsythe, and Elmore, with Rene Rivera back behind the plate.
Here's the second baseman, Anthony Rendon. Carries a .245 average. First pitch is a strike.
Well, a situation that Chris Archer very rarely finds himself in. Number one with a walk. Number two, a leadoff walk. And a leadoff walk to start the ball game with a base runner, good speed.
He gave up one walk in that outing against the White Sox his last time. And that one walk put an end to facing 107 consecutive hitters without a walk. So here he is, a walk in his last outing, and he walks the leadoff man tonight. That's going to be a strike on the corner.
Boy, and I'll tell you, if Chris Archer's able to get that call, hopefully that's something that is consistently called by Colbreth, and that Chris Archer and Rene Rivera recognize it, because that was a borderline slider. And if he gets the borderline, then guess what? It makes expanding the zone even easier.
He takes a shot out there, a little wide, 2-2.
That's the example of a hitter staying disciplined. He didn't like the previous call, and then Chris Archer came back with a very similar slider and disciplined to not swing at it, taking the risk of getting rung up looking.
Liner into right, back toward the corner. That's going to be a foul ball. Souza trying to get the angle on that one as it continued to slice away from him, and foul.
I've been impressed with Anthony Rendon as a hitter. Some of the pitches that he's taken, some of the pitches that he's hit just that close to being a fair ball as Souza Jr. pursues it, and the way that the ball jumps off of his bat, even in some of the outs. And it seems like the swing is smooth and easy, and the ball comes off it hot.
Well, he had 21 home runs last year and had 39 doubles. And led the National League in runs scored. There goes Span, swing and a miss, throw down, and it's going to be close. They got him. He is out at second base. So a strikeout of Rendon. Denard Span caught stealing for the first time this year. And Rene Rivera continues to be very, very good cutting down opposing base runners.
You know, a lot of people will say that the pitcher's best friend is the old, ground ball double play. I think that that's the best version of the pitcher's best friend, and that's awfully close there at second base. But to strike him out, throw him out, is about as good as it gets. Well, they may take a look at that.
Yeah, they're going to decide to take a look at that call at second base. Matt Williams taking a little time before he got word from their video coordinator. So we'll take a look here. Field and Colbreth, the crew chief, will don the headsets along with Manny Gonzalez. It was very close, but the Rays have the initial call in their favor. So
we've seen on close calls like that, that sometimes is the deciding factor, or it seems to be. Although from that last angle that we saw, that real close-up shot, it's just got to be clear and convincing. And so you might say right here that he didn't touch him, okay, foot on, and now he tags him. Did he get a little bit of the leg before it?
Got to be clear and convincing.
I think I'm almost convinced he was safe.
But is it clear? What is the definition of clear?
Well,
so they're taking a little time to decide this one. You would think that if it's clear, it would follow that it would be convincing. So convincing should follow clear. They're not two distinct entities.
Except,
how can you be convinced if it's not clear?
Circumstantial evidence, and a lot of it. And I'm convinced that he was safe, but I don't know if it was clear. Maybe that makes me crazy. I don't know.
So the difference, will the bases be empty with 2 outs, or will Span be at second with 1 out? They must be debating the very same topic we were just debating, because it's taking them a little while to decide on this play on the challenge.
Sometimes the piling up of circumstantial evidence takes a while.
And then you have to step back and not let that carry the day.
Here we go.
Oh, he's going to be safe. So he raced the caught stealing. Denard Span is still perfect. 7 of 7 now in the stolen base department. The call overturned.
So close from every angle. That glove down there, and you see the foot's on the bag, but well.
So here's Escobar, and the first pitch, he takes it wide. An opening slider to Yanel Escobar. One and one. Span opened with the walk. He's now at second on the stolen base.
And Chris Archer, he's got his work cut out for him here with Yanel Escobar having a good year swinging the bat, and also Bryce Harper with a runner in scoring position. So being tested early. This has not been the norm for Archer.
2 balls and a strike. Escobar with 21 runs batted in. It led off last night with Span out of the game. Slider again, and he missed it.
That really has been the pitch that has allowed Chris Archer to take that next step. And not just the slider in and of itself, but when he will use it. And here, that's all Escobar has seen is the slider. He'll throw it in any count, in any situation. He's got that much confidence in it.
This one is a fastball, and it's taken wide. That one in at 97, and the count is full.
And you can do that when you've given a guy a steady diet of breaking balls, try to rush the high velocity heater by him. If you miss like he did, you come right back with the slider.
3-2 and a bouncer foul. Rays had a base runner, lost him on a double play. Now the Nationals with the base runner in their half of the inning. Span, who had some back tightness last night, back in the lineup tonight, gives them speed atop the lineup. Escobar fouls the slider. So this will be the 8th pitch of this at bat. Coming up here, this battle between Archer and Escobar.
You know, this depends on knowing the umpire, but if Chris Archer right now had confidence on a fastball in, at bat over. Right now, all Escobar's trying to do is protect against the pitch away. Shortest stroke.
And he fouls it back. Well, he tried to get in there.
Well, that ball was middle away. You got to come in. You know, you got a hitter up there that's seen a lot of pitches, and he's trying to protect. He's just shortening it up and leaning and looking out over. You come with the 96, 97 in, and there's absolutely no chance that he gets the barrel to the baseball.
It's a base hit the other way. Souza with the pickup. Span's going to have to hold at third. Well, Escobar just stayed with it and got a slider and hit it into right.
And that's a base hit that was built off of familiarity. He had seen the pitch an awful lot in the same area, and he was just looking to protect the outer half of the plate. He was giving up anything in and just looking out over, and he got a breaking ball right there, shortened up, and went the other way with it.
So now it's first and third. One out, and Bryce Harper, our viewing big matchup. You can see how dangerous Harper's been since the 6th of May, hitting .421 with a slugging percentage of .934. big trouble here in the first. And right back off Archer. Down he goes, and the ball just out of the reach of Cabrera. Span scores. Up to second goes Escobar. A shot off the bat of Harper. And Archer went down. The Rays will want to spend some time with him out there on the mound to settle him in again. Wow.
Yeah, this ball was well struck. A slider, boy, went right off that left foot and flipped Chris Archer. One hopper. Wow. But fortunate he is moving around.
Boy, that is unnerving just to watch, much less be on the receiving end of that.
Well, and he's toughing it out too. I mean, he told everybody to stay put. I'm fine. And right back up on the mound now as he regains his thoughts and plan of action to go back to work.
Wilson Ramos pitches a strike to him. Wide, 1-1. We've seen some hard hit baseballs this year, but I'm not sure that we've seen any hitter hit them consistently harder than Harper has in the 4 games that these two teams have played against each other. 1-2, a foul ball out of play. The count to Ramos. 2-2. There is ball 3 and the count is full. You know, it's hard. You get a sense that a ball obviously is hit hard. You don't know exactly how hard. And we now have the technology to track that. The ball hit by Harper. And it's registering. They checked it twice in the truck. It's registering at 107.8 off the bat. I mean, that's hard. And now there's ball 4. Ramos walks and the bases are loaded against Archer with only 1 out.
And you know, this could go back to the walk to Denard Span, but the one thing that we've not seen from Chris Archer tonight that we normally see in just about every start that he makes is he usually establishes something early in the game. You know, he led the ball game off with a leadoff walk to Span and immediately had to go to the stretch, but nothing right now has been established. But there's been no rhyme or reason to his sequencing of pitches.
And what a difference it makes that Span was safe at second base. Take a look at our Toyota trend this year. First in strikeouts, second in ERA, third in opponent average, 7 wins coming in. So you're out there, instead of bases empty and 2 outs, you've got a man in scoring position with 1 out, and then the inning has progressively gotten worse for Chris Archer. Danny Espinosa, switch hitting first baseman. The pitch is low. The fastball against Espinosa. Washington with a run in the first. And a major threat for more. Did he go? Yes, he did. Call Schreiber down there.
Now that's a big call too, because that ball up and out of the zone, Espinosa goes too far, and that's absolutely the right call. So instead of it being bases loaded 2-0 count, where you start to limit yourself with what you're able to do, it's now 1-1 and all options still on the table. Although with Chris Archer, a lot of times, even like we talked about earlier, behind in the count, all options are on the table.
Ground ball right side. Forsythe, the second one. First base not going to be in time. And so the run will score. Escobar crosses the plate. Harper goes to third. Espinosa picks up his 19th run batted in. And it's a 2-0 game here in the first.
That ball was not hit hard enough by Espinosa, and he had the added benefit of hitting from the left side, so he's closer to first base, and he makes that play not close at all.
Well, Archer with 30 pitches prepares to face Ian Desmond with men at first and third and 2 outs. Ground ball headed toward the middle. That's Cabrera making a nice play to get that toss to second to Forsythe for the Fords. Limits the damage to 2 runs, 2 left, and it's 2-0 as we go to the second. Brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By Morgan Auto Group. Make it Morgan. We make it happen. Logan Forsythe leads it off, and he takes the first pitch from Doug Fister for a ball. 1-0. Forsythe hitting cleanup tonight, and the lineup for Kevin Cash. The strike, it's 1-1.
You better put on the thinking cap tonight.
Yeah, Fister's not going to give you much time to think about it because he's ready to go. He knows what he wants to do.
You can tell his body language, his tempo, it exudes confidence.
Fly ball center field. That's Span out there.
He's a prime example of what we talk about when, if you've got a good game plan and you're well versed in it, you know what your stuff is doing, what you're going to rely upon that given night. When you go out there on the mound and throw a pitch based on the hitter's reaction in the count, you know immediately what you want to do the next pitch. So why wait around? You know, it keeps the infielders and the outfielders on the balls of their feet, and it exudes confidence. It shows you're in command of the situation.
Pitch to Steven Souza Jr. is a ball, 1-0.
And like you said, Dwayne, you limit the game planning of the hitter. He's forced to just stay in there and take swings.
Well, I think the pitcher who starts the action anyway, if he knows what he wants to do, he has a built-in advantage. Why wait a long time and give that hitter an opportunity to maybe reevaluate how he wants to approach a situation?
Right on. Right on.
I mean, just go get him, and that's what Pfister does. He's an interesting guy. Everywhere he's been, his teammates love to have him, and one of the reasons we talk about this, you love to play behind him because he works quickly, but they like his presence on the team. He's a team guy. He's a little bit of a throwback, and a lot of times when his catcher may be the guy who goes through all the video. He likes to read hitters, read situations. He'll do that, make adjustments on the fly, and know what he wants to do. And if somebody wants to watch a lot of video, probably going to be the catcher preparing for his starts.
You make sure that you compare notes before you go out there, and then at that point you have a game plan, but everything's subject to change, you know, based on a hitter maybe giving you a different look.
Line drive and a base hit past Escobar into left. Souza's aboard. Well, Souza had a good night last night here, returning to Washington. You know, he came right off that game where he played and saved the no-hitter last year for Jordan Zimmerman. And so the very next game he plays here was last night, and he had 3 hits, including a home run and a base hit his first time up tonight.
I'll tell you what, that last shot, you see that line drive, and it was well hit, but Yunel Escobar, it was like his feet were nailed to the turf. No chance.
So the pitch is low to Asdrubal Cabrera. Cabrera with a count of 1-0. One ball, one strike. One out single by Souza Jr. He's back in at first. Souza got the Gibby Award. They presented that to him on the field before the game tonight for that great catch he made to save the no-hitter for Jordan Zimmerman. And Zimmerman made the presentation himself. Now, start and stop time call. Souza was headed to second base and apparently has great hearing as time was called, and he suddenly put on the brakes. And running on Pfister is not easy to do.
No, there hasn't been an attempt yet this year. He does have a pickoff.
Ground ball right side, that's going to go through. Souza will turn second and stop, and the Rays have put the first two men back to back together after Forsythe hit the fly ball to center. So Souza's at second and Cabrera's aboard at first.
Well, the runner being held on, and as Asdrubal Cabrera just rolls over the top of that pitch, finds some opening on the right side, and now the Rays with a threat building.
Jake Elmore hitting .282. First pitch is a strike. Rays trying to cut into the 2-run deficit. turn, nothing doing. So Souza has caught Fister's attention. You know, you mentioned this year no attempts to steal against him. Last year, no steals. There was one caught stealing and a pickoff. That just got to corner,
which is pretty astounding when you factor in he's right-handed. You know, and you can be quick to the plate, which he is. There's not a lot of wasted movement, but just the fact that there's been zero success.
Well, the first thing that it would seem that tells you is that his time to the plate is very quick. And we know all the teams have that stopwatch on opposing pitchers to determine whether it really makes sense to try to run against them. 1 ball, 2 strikes. But to have essentially one attempt over the last year plus on him, and that's it.
Well, put it this way, there have been 32 attempted stolen bases against him in over 1,023 innings. 32,
yeah.
and it's a coin flip. 16 for 32. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and if your success stealing is going to be 50%, why bother? And recently, not many people have bothered. Attempted steals.
Now there have been 10 attempted steals against him since 2012.
That pitch just missed wide. 2-2.
And Souza Jr. back there at second is trying his hardest to get a walking lead against Fister. And Fister's actually doing a nice job of stopping him.
And again, a bit wide, so the count is full. Elmore got down 0-2 and has worked the count all the way to 3-2. Runners go, and a base hit into left. Here comes Souza in to score. Rays are on the board to make it 2-1. Jake Elmore with a great at bat there against Fister drives in the run.
Boy, 3 in a row for the Rays. Very good at bat. Souza Jr. Everybody's been a little bit off balance, but keeping their hands back. A good pitch there, full count by Fister. And look at Elmore. Just keep the hands back, get the ball that's down and in through the left side. I like Kevin Cash there with the runners in motion in that full count, trusting Jake Elmore to get the bat on the ball against Doug Fister, knowing he's not going to overpower him.
Now it's Rene Rivera taking that first pitch for a strike. Two.
Well, and they're coming with this pitch away. They just ran that ball underneath the hands of Rene Rivera, and they're going to come away here.
And it's wide. A ball, 2 strikes. And a little piece of that went foul. Souza Jr. has scored the run. As Drupal Cabrera is at second, Jake Elmore is at first. Fly ball into right. Harper backs up and will make the catch. Tag at second. Cabrera is headed to third. Throw cut off, and it will be first and third with 2 outs. Cabrera now at third, Elmore at first, and the hitter is going to be Chris Archer. Archer 0 for 3 this year with a strikeout.
Got a chance to help himself out here.
Well, Chris right now 0 for 11 in the major leagues. This would be a great time to pick up number 1. The pitch is a strike. One and one. Two balls and a strike. Pfister with 42 pitches so far. The average is a little over 15 an inning. And a cut and a miss. Archer down to one knee in the aftermath of that cut. Lost the helmet.
Too anxious. That was the fastball by Pfister at 85, and Archer just a hair out in front. Helmet comes off. He wasn't looking to tie this game up. He was looking for the lead.
And he takes strike 3 right there. So the Rays get on the board with a run. They lead 2 and trail 2-1.
Back on the mound where he made his major league debut almost 3 years to the date when he was a 23-year-old here at National Park. In our Geico great moment in Rays history, here's Archer reflecting on that debut.
All the hard work and all the doubters and naysayers, and it was tears of joy. There's a lot of people here. They draw pretty well. I was pitching against, at the time, best pitcher in baseball. So I was just like humbled and excited and just honored all at the same time to be there on that stage, and for the first time after, contemplating not, playing at times.
His high school coach told him maybe try Division III football potential, as Archer will try and make the play himself here and throws it into the runner, and that has Jake Elmore go down at first base. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
Well, let's hope Elmore is all right. That can be dangerous for a first baseman trying to go after a throw into the runner.
And that's exactly what happened. Chris Archer with like a hard sinker down and in. And Elmore, as he reaches for this baseball, it's going to come right into the runner. And boy, it just snapped his hand back and knocked the ball right out of that glove. Nothing dirty about this play. A base runner trying to get to the bag.
He hooked part of that on the inside of the left arm there. So Michael Taylor's going to get a hit out of that. And Elmore appears to be all right. Well, it's been a difficult start here.
You know what was interesting about that? From one of those angles, it looked like the ball into Elmore's glove. Like he held that ball long enough. And I don't know if the foot had come off the bag. He certainly didn't beat the throw. But let's take a look here. Catches the ball. Foot is on the bag. Ball's still in there. Still in there. Well,
I'll tell you.
That's close.
I think the Rays are going to have this play reviewed. It's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I think that he may have held that ball long enough to have recorded the out. The foot was on the bag. The ball was in the glove, and it stayed in the glove for a time. Was that time long enough? We'll find out.
It appeared to be, but again, it has to be clear and convincing. And so Kevin Cash went out to check on his first baseman first to see if Elmore was all right, and then carried the conversation to whether he was safe or out. And here's another look.
Foot's on the bag, ball's in the glove.
Well, the Nationals challenged a play earlier and had it overturned. And they have decided to challenge this. There was you saw that little discussion in between. So the Rays have a challenge on what has been ruled a base hit for Michael Taylor. See, Jim Reynolds made the call down at first base. So for the second time now in 2 innings, Archer's had to wait out there on the mound. That occurred in the first inning when the Nationals challenged the out call on a caught stealing. And this one will go for the Nationals as well. And they're going to say this was confirmed. Taylor has a base hit. And now Doug Fister, the pitcher, is up here trying to advance the runner. LaGoria close at third. The bunt rolled foul up the first base side. Strike one. Two to one ball game. We're in the bottom of the second. the bunt. The underhanded toss. Elmore to Forsythe. Taylor moves into scoring position at second as Pfister puts down the sacrifice.
That was well done by Doug Pfister, facing that big fastball on Chris Archer. Good technique. He deadened the ball, got it where he wanted to, and got another opportunity here for the runner in scoring position for the Nationals.
So 3-4 on the sacrifice. Elmore to Forsythe. Top of the order, Denard Span. The pitch is a strike call. Span, out of Tampa Catholic. He's actually born here in Washington, D.C. and then went to Tampa at an early age. A 1-strike count on him. It's 1-1. Not only did he distinguish himself as an outstanding baseball player, a pretty good wide receiver for Tampa Catholic, and then picked in the draft by the Minnesota Twins. A little bit wide. It's 2-1. As we mentioned in this series, one of 4 Washington Nationals in the free agent year.
Yeah, interesting offseason it will be for the Nationals. Right now their focus is on winning and getting this team back on the right track. They have really, on performance, some part of it injury, although it's hard to feel bad for the Nationals' injuries with what the Rays have gone through on their end, but this team has absolutely underachieved this year, coming off from such a big year last year during the regular season, and returning what they thought was going to be a starting pitching staff even stronger than the one last year that led Major League Baseball in just about every category.
Ooh, pretty close right there from Archer. And now the count is full. Man at second with 1 out. Boy, that looked like a pretty good pitch right there. I'd like to make that pitch and get that call all night long. Down and away at the knees on the outside corner. The ground ball, that's going to go through the left side, charged by Butler, and Taylor's going to hold at third base. Nice job by Butler to charge that ground ball to get there in a hurry. So that has prevented Taylor from attempting to score. Taylor with great speed. So the first couple innings have been a challenge for Chris Archer here against the Nationals. Anthony Rendon, who struck out his first time. The 1 strikeout posted by Archer tonight. First pitch is outside. Fastball wide.
Well, we said in the open for Chris Archer, this run of success had started with strike 1. And he has not had the quality starts to at bats tonight like you're used to seeing.
It's a strike on the corner.
And then that puts him into battle mode as opposed to where he has the upper hand and he's getting these hitters to fish after what he wants. Hasn't really established anything. So these hitters have put some pretty decent at bats against him.
1 ball, 2 strikes.
and Anthony Rendon would like to take another swing at that. That was a slider there by Chris Archer. Wasn't one of his best, kind of hung, stayed up in the zone. He gets a reprieve with no swing, and now with a 1-2 count can go for the strikeout.
Span, the runner at first. He picked up his 7th stolen base of the year. Well, that's quite a difference right there. Ahead in the count, behind in the count. Count still 1-2. A foul ball out of play. Still 1-2.
Well, you just hope that here for these first couple of innings that Chris Archer is able to minimize the damage. The last couple of breaking balls have been flat and out over the plate. It's just been not the best start that we've seen Chris Archer throw out there to a ball game, but he's always capable of finding it and finding it quickly. There you go.
The cut, the miss. Nice pitch, big strikeout for the 2nd out of the inning.
And a great adjustment made by Chris Archer. The last couple of breaking balls, like you said, he drifted a little bit towards home plate, not able to get on top of that pitch, and right there he changes the scope and the break of that, and that makes work there of Rendon. Middle of the plate, he can throw that pitch, and he can break it at times straight down, which is what he did there.
Well, here's Escobar. Singled and scored a run in the 1st. Ground ball, 3rd, foul, and Bob Henley makes the pickup in the coaching box. 1 strike to count on Escobar. And this suddenly becomes a big at bat for Archer in this game. It's still, as long as Archer's been out there in the 1st and 2nd innings, it's still just a 2-1 game. Men at 1st and 3rd, and a very big hitter in Escobar.
The Rays offense has shown the ability to put some good at-bats on Doug Fister, so you don't get the feeling that they're done scoring. And Chris Archer always capable of clicking it in and becoming dominant in a hurry. I would like for him, I'd like to see a fastball in on Yunel Escobar at some point. Everything has been away, and he's seen a lot of pitches.
And there's a cut and a miss on a fastball, and he got the strike there. But again, they were setting up away.
Yeah, everything has been away. And I understand that that may be the game plan against Yunel Escobar, but as he showed you in his first at-bat, he made the adjustment on pitches that were nothing but away, and he hurt you the other way with a base hit. And now with 2 strikes, I'll bet you that he's looking out there again, looking to shorten up and go the other way.
And he fouls it the other way out of play. And you can see where Rivera, you see his body.
Yep.
I mean, he is setting up, way away.
Yeah, that's where they're going. That is absolutely where they're going, where they want to go. I'm saying just even as a show pitch, a fastball in to get him off away. Right now, he's only having to defend half of the plate.
It's fouled away again.
I mean, you could see it coming again.
And Escobar has shown he's not comfortable with pitches in anyway.
No.
He's dropping the bat, flipping the bat, doing all kinds of things on pitches in.
And if nothing else, even if it's a ball, okay, so it's 2-2, but at least you put in his mind you may throw in there. There you go.
And a little popper into shallow center. Kiermaier just can't get there. That's a base hit. Taylor has scored. They're going to send Span, and he is out at the plate. So Span tried to score on that little popper that dropped in. So a run scores to make it a 2-run game again, as Escobar dropped that one just out of the reach of Kiermaier and drives in the run.
A nice job by the Rays outfielders to stay with it, though, and get that last out.
The third, it's a 3-1 ball game now. The Nationals leading the Rays. And Kevin Kiermaier, the top of the order, will lead it off for the Rays. Kiermaier, Butler, and Longoria. And that's a ball as Kiermaier shortens on the bat. Foul back. The Rays put 3 hits together, scored a run in the second. Our T-Mobile game changer here in the top of the third. Kevin Kiermaier leading it off, hitting .366 with a .395 on base percentage in the month of June. Lines it into center, and Span is there to catch it. That on base percentage in June is one of the things so promising about Kiermaier on that T-Mobile game changer board.
And here's why, Dwayne, because it's leading to more stolen bases, stolen base attempts. As he gets more comfortable out on the base paths, not only do you have a guy now who's dynamic in the sense that he'll look to take the extra base on balls out of the batter's box, but now if he is held to a single, more comfortable in attempting those stolen bases. And so you get him out there on base, you continue to keep him comfortable, and you'll see a guy really take off, change games with the legs.
Here's Butler. Ground ball sharply hit, but Desmond at short makes the pickup and the throw. So a couple of outs here quickly recorded in the third. In tonight's game, we're participating in the home run challenge. Every Rays home run raises $12,500 for prostate cancer research. You can make a pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Here's Evan Longoria. And the first pitch is a soft strike. Another ground ball. This one handled by Desmond. The Rays are out 1-2-3. 6 pitches in the inning for Fister. 3-1 Washington.
to you by Kona Brewing Company. One life, right? Don't blow it. Mahalo. Well, Bryce Harper's going to lead it off here in the bottom of the third. He has now garnered my favorite walk-up song. I'm not sure walk-up songs are something that's necessary, but the best is yet to come by Frank Sinatra is his walk-up song. One strike to count to Harper.
Classic, old school.
Yes.
And a bit of foreshadowing, he hopes.
That's what he hopes. Well, boy, I'll tell you, he swings the bat as hard as anybody. And that ball he hit back at Archer in the first. I don't know if it was 107.8. That's what the reading was. That was scary if you're out there on the mound.
Oh boy, and that was at your ankles. Imagine if that's a line drive. Actually, you don't want to imagine that. But you're right. The ball jumps off his bat. He hits some big-time home runs, big-time power, and slugging percentage says it all.
Yeah, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
That's not. Well, he's got such a comfortable lead over Paul Goldschmidt.
One ball and 2 strikes now.
Well, you combine that with the fact that his on-base percentage is approaching 500, up in that 480 range.
Hits the ball on the ground, and the Rays have him defense perfectly with the shift. Forsythe throws him out. Well, get your best 70s outfit together. Go back in time when the Rays take on the Red Sox Saturday, June 27th for Turn Back the Clock Night. All fans receive a Rays retro headband presented by the Florida Department of Transportation while supplies last. For tickets, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Rays up. Wilson Ramos takes the pitch down. And to right, Souza Jr. closes and makes the grab. So a couple of fairly quick outs here for Archer, and boy, he could use that. 53 pitches through the first 2. Fisher had a very quick top half of the third. He had made 44 pitches through 2 and got a 6-pitch inning in the top of the third. You'd love to see Archer close this one out with a pitch or 2 here on Espinosa. Strike 1. Get him out in front right there. Break it out a changeup. Shift on for Espinosa. Batting from the left side. Again. It has him out in front. 0-2.
Well, you'll see Chris Archer use that pitch primarily to left-handed hitters. A lot of times we don't see it until later in the game, if at all. But as he searches for some way to get some consistency, he starts to go to that pitch here in the third and been quite effective.
This one shot up the middle and a base hit. So the fastball and a single into center.
I tell you, that's an impressive at bat by Danny Espinosa, because we saw that same sequence of pitches against Matt Joyce with the Angels. Change up, strike 1, change up, strike 2, 96-mile-an-hour fastball, and one of the worst emergency hacks you've ever seen. And you can understand why. But here Espinosa is still right on that fastball, never got off of it, and he lines it right back up the middle.
Here's Ian Desmond. Tapper to third, charged by Longoria. That'll take care of Desmond and Washington. They get a hit, leave a man, do not score, and we go to the fourth, 3-1.
the Washington Monument in this game tonight and all season long. Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Forsythe, Souza Jr., and then Cabrera. Pfister had a very quick third inning. The Rays would like to push him a bit, making his first start just off the disabled list.
This is the part of the lineup that pushed him the last time they came through.
That's a fair ball up the left field line. Back toward the corner. Taylor will have to go into the corner to get it. And a stand-up double for Logan Forsythe. Well, there's a start for the Rays. The 14th double of the year for Forsythe.
Well, out in front, over the top, and down the line, Yunel Escobar. You know, we saw him on a ball hit to his left earlier with very limited reaction time and range, and the same thing right there. That ball sneaks inside the line, and the Rays are off and running here in the fourth.
Escobar doing a lot of diving tonight down there at third. Steven Souza Jr. who singled and scored in the second inning up here. Souza's been doing a lot of hitting in the two-game set.
You know, and it's important for a pitcher like Doug Pfister, who's not overpowering that fastball in the mid-80s. A lot of guys are going to be in front of that and pulling it, the right-handed hitters. He needs to have a strong left side of the infield. And with Ian Desmond's struggles out at shortstop, and Yunel Escobar and what we've seen of him tonight.
Yeah, because Pfister really is a contact guy.
Oh, yeah.
Without question.
So he's averaging just over, what, 4 strikeouts per 9.
Well, we mentioned at the outset, his idea to a perfect night, and the holy grail for him would be 27 pitches and 27 first pitch ground ball outs. That's what he's looking for coming in. A 1-2 count on Steven Souza Jr. The ground ball to third. Escobar, low throw, safe at first. Ball pops loose and over to third goes Forsythe. So the Rays now set up first and third on the throwing error by Escobar.
Well, you combine the issues that Yunel Escobar's had tonight, just getting off his feet, to just a routine play here, and he just shorts the throw.
Espinosa trying to dig it out. So the Rays get a base runner at first, and Forsythe moves up a base. He's at third for Asdrubal Cabrera. Great opportunity for the Rays now. Souza back in at first. Line drive to second, right at Rendon for the out. Cabrera hits it on a line. So one gone. And another guy who has hit the ball on a line a lot lately, Jake Elmore, coming up. He singled in a run his first time. Getting more playing time and a lot of it at first base, and he has been swinging a good bat.
That average up over 290 now, on base at 329. Another guy that will use the whole field.
Runner takes off from first. Throw down is in time. Souza wanting the Rays to see if they can get another look at that, but the Rays lost a challenge earlier. Souza thought he was in there. Manny Gonzalez calling him out on the caught stealing.
Well, it looked like the throw. Rendon catches it right off of Souza Jr.'s back. And yeah, there's no challenge to be had here. Let's see. think they got that call right from what we have seen. I mean, it'd be hard to get it overturned. This would be a good look here. Now, yeah, he catches it right up against him.
So now a man at third with 2 outs.
And that's the problem. 2 outs now. He retires the hitter. That's done.
Yep.
You run yourself into an out against a guy who's just about impossible to steal on. That may have not been the smartest attempt.
Well, it's not a percentage move. No question.
No.
For those 2 reasons. Number one, Fister, nobody steals against him. And now you've got a guy at third with 2 outs. Fly ball's not going to help you now. 3-1.
You know, when you're a team like the Rays and you walk on the edge sometimes as how aggressive they are, that you're going to get these moments, unfortunately.
A little popper. Rendon out there in shallow center, so the Rays had an opportunity and do not cash in, trailing 3-1. The President's race here at Nationals Park, and he wins it with a flourish.
His wife had a beard. His wife did have a beard.
Well, you know, back in those days, they didn't even know of electrolysis, so you took what you got. Well, that race apparently has brought rain. And we're going to have a stoppage in play.
I'm checking the radar, Dwayne, and it is one rogue cell of rain, and it should not be, I would not think, that long.
Right over the ballpark, and that's it. Nowhere else in the entire vicinity.
Right.
I mean, we could be playing this in any number of communities except the nation's capital
right here,
and it would be dry as a bone. But it's raining here at Nationals Park, and they're going to cover the infield. We did have rain before the game, and it rained hard here for a while, and then it cleared off. We had a nice rainbow here before the game started, and so we have a rain delay now with this game through 3.5 innings. Efficient rain delay. Boy, the ground crew's been outstanding. Before they had the tarp completely rolled and replaced in its proper position, Chris Archer was out there with his warm-up tosses, so he is just about ready. And it was indeed just one rogue cloud that passed right over the ballpark here and has gone its own way. And it would appear that we'll have clear sailing from here on out. And we can actually take a look at that cloud beyond the floodlights as it moved across from the left field corner and exited the right field corner, stage right, I guess, from where we are. And so Chris Archer, who has made 64 pitches through the front three, will be facing the bottom part of the order, the 8, 9, and then the top of the order. So he'll have Michael Taylor, Doug Fister, and Denard Span coming up here as we move into the bottom of the fourth inning. So it has been a disjointed evening for Chris Archer to this point, struggling really to settle in where he'd like to be, and then stopped a couple times on various plays that had been challenged in the first and second innings separately, and now this rain delay, and we're all set to pick up play in the bottom of the fourth inning with Michael Taylor, who had opened the second with a base hit and scored a run, leading off, and goes after the pitch, sending it down the right side, out of play. Strike one.
And I really think that this will give Chris Archer an opportunity to reboot if he so chooses to use it that way. Get himself back in the right frame of mind, realize that what's done is done, and let's go out there and go to work.
Ground ball down to third to Evan Longoria, and he makes the routine throw. One out here in the fourth inning after a 17-minute rain delay. That'll be the pitcher, Doug Fister, coming up.
Well, even the way that this lineup is set up for him in this inning. Got an opportunity to have a quick inning, a quick feel-good inning before we get into the second half of this ball game.
A strike on the inside part of the plate. And 0-2. Back up in the mid-90s with that delivery. Ground ball, that's going to go through the left side. Fister takes a fastball and has himself a base hit the other way.
Well, Asdrubal Cabrera was shading a little bit up the middle here. Interesting setup. You figure with the left-handed hitting Fister and Archer's big fastball, he's not going to be pulling a whole lot. And yet Cabrera, they had him pulled a little bit up the middle, and that would have been a routine ground ball to shortstop, sneaks into left field. Interesting defensive alignment there by the Rays.
Here's Denard Span. He hits a little pop-up on the left side of the infield. Longoria handles that one. The two outs with the pitcher at first. Bring up Anthony Rendon. Well, why wouldn't the pitcher get a base hit through the left side with the shortstop shifted up the right side? It's been that kind of night. Just not quite right. And the Rays continue to try to battle through all that. Rendon has struck out twice and takes the first pitch in there for a strike. Archer has given up 3 runs, 7 hits, and a couple walks. Ground ball. This is Longoria with hits tossed to first. No runs, a hit, and a man left, and we're headed into the fifth. Rays down by 2. It's Throwback Rays Day, brought to you by Chrysler. Submit the best vintage photo of yourself by using the hashtag #ThrowbackRays. We'll select the best photo and feature it in the postgame show. Rene Rivera is going to open the 5th. Then Chris Archer's due up, followed by Kevin Kiermaier. Pitch is a strike. Well, Rene Rivera hit a fly ball to right field, caught by Harper his first time. It's 1-1. Fister's given up a run on 5 hits. Fister just off the disabled list. 31-year-old right-hander. Went to school at Fresno State. Ground ball to third. Escobar whips his throw to first. That is out number 1 in the 5th. Rays Flex Packs now come with one of 8 great gifts of your choice. Starting at just $59, Rays Flex Packs allow you to choose any 3, 6, or 9 games with no blackout dates. Plus, get half off parking when using the funds loaded to your Rays card. For details, visit RaysBaseball.com or call 888-FAN-RAYS. One pitch into the at-bat for Archer. It's a strike, 0-1 to count. 0-2. The 1 strikeout, or now 2 strikeouts for Fister. He got Archer looking in the 2nd inning after getting Longoria swinging in the 1st. And the pitch is high, 1-2. Chris still looking for that first big league hit. And he'll have to wait until next time.
And the frustration that Chris Archer showed right there after the swing, it shows you the Fister fastball, the velocity's not big, but the sink at the end is. And when you're creating the downhill angle with late sink, that ball's, it's like a split almost.
Yeah, and that's the key for him, that late sink. You can be a sinker baller, but that late sink is what separates you. Kiermaier takes ball 1. 1-1. That's your foul. Rays left 2 on in the 2nd when they scored a run. Left a man on in the 4th. Popper into short left, but Taylor not too deep out there to begin with, makes the catch. We go to the bottom half of the 5th. It's 3-1 Washington. After the game, the Rays invite you to come onto the field for fun, kid-friendly music. The performance with mainstream covers from Kids Bop Kids. For tickets, call 888-FAN-RAYS or visit RaysBaseball.com. Yudel Escobar takes ball one, hitting third in the lineup. Bounces it foul. 1-1. The foul ball out of play. Going to be a foul ball, holding the count at 1-2. Middle part of the order here for Chris Archer. Liner into left. Butler's going to try to cut it off. He backhands it. Escobar heads for second, and the throw will not be in time, a little wide, and Escobar has a double.
Yudel Escobar has had an answer for everything that Chris Archer has tried to do with him. This pitch stayed middle of the plate, up around the belt, and Escobar able to rip the hands through, and now 3 for 3. You know, the first at bat, I thought the mistake was made 8, 9, 10 pitches all away, and you could see he had shortened up and was looking to go that way, was successful. I thought the second at bat, Chris made the right pitch and a good pitch, and he jammed him, but you know, the ball falls in and it drives in a run on top of it. Frustrating. And then right there, a 2-strike mistake.
Good cut and a miss by Harper. Well, the pitch out over the plate.
Yeah.
And you're right, there's not much you can do with that little blooper that drove in a run in the second inning.
Those are the most frustrating hits to give up, when you're convinced in your mind that it's the right pitch, and I thought it was the right pitch, and you execute it, you get bad contact, and not only is it the hit, but it's an RBI single. That just gnaws at you.
A 1-1 count to Harper.
You know, the double that you give up right here, you're angry at yourself, because a 2-strike pitch ahead in the count, you leave a ball right out over, that's on you.
It's been one of those nights for Chris Archer. A battle every inning. It's 2-1. Starting with that 30-pitch first inning. That'll take the count to 2-2. Both starting pitchers out here. We had a mid-4th rain delay. Now in the bottom of the 5th. There's a cut and a miss. Harper out on strikes.
You go to the last 2 pitches of that at bat. It was a 2-1 slider in the zone for a cold strike, and then a 2-2 slider that he takes out of the zone. And against the left-handed hitters, he gets so much depth with that pitch, is able to keep it on the plate. Look at that thing. That is where the slider appears to be a curveball at 90 miles an hour. And that's a big strikeout. You keep Harper from doing any damage. You keep him from moving Escobar over to third.
Wilson Ramos. And ball 1 to him. Ramos has walked and lined out to right. 2-0. Two balls and a strike. Ramos with 7 home runs. 2 of those came in that 16-run attack the Nationals put on the Rays Tuesday when he homered off Jake Elmore and Nick Franklin. Back to the mound, and the toss to first for the out. Over to third base goes Escobar. So the chop, and Ramos is out. Escobar bluffing a start or two down the third base line as Archer was asking for a new baseball. So Danny Espinosa is going to be the hitter. Escobar at third. Strike one. Espinosa drove it around on a fielder's choice in the first inning, and then after getting behind on a couple changeups in the third inning, he lined a fastball for a base hit. A fastball in at 96 following 2 good changeups that had him out in front.
And all that tells you is Danny Espinosa is not getting off of the fastball. Always ready to hit the fastball. Swings and misses at a changeup, okay, but I'm going to stay on the fastball. Take my chances that I'm going to get one at some point. So it doesn't mean you don't throw him the fastball. You just got to make sure you put it in a good area.
Chopper to first. Elmore makes the play. Leadoff double, and the runner left on third, as it turns out. We're headed into the 6th inning. Joey Butler's going to lead it off, followed by Longoria and Forsythe. Vote for your Rays All-Stars. Vote 35 times on the 2015 Esurance MLB All-Star Game ballot at RaysBaseball.com. Exclusive online, available on your computer, tablet, or smartphone. both early and both often. Leading off, Joey Butler hits one a long way back toward the right field corner. Gone! Home run for Joey Butler. Disappeared into the bullpen beyond the 335 marker. And on the first pitch here in the 6th, Butler gets the Rays on the board again, and now they trail by only 1.
Just continues to produce. And this at bat, he does it the other way and drops it right over the 335 sign out in right field, right down the line. Boy, a ball up and middle. He waits on it and unloads. How about that?
Evan Longoria fouls one. We've talked about Butler. You know, he's a quiet guy. He's a friendly guy. He's just quiet. And he goes about his business. And his comments last night have turned out to be prophetic. This one is low. Kevin Cash said, "You're going to like the lineup tomorrow," meaning he's going to be in it. And Butler said to Cash, "No, you're going to like it." Line drive and a base hit into center field. Longoria is aboard.
Well, and that goes back to what we were talking about yesterday. You know, with his confidence level, with his approach, and with his track record now from the beginning of May, it's got to be tough to not have him in the lineup every single night until proven otherwise.
Absolutely. And he deserves to be in there.
Yeah.
What a job he's done.
He's the Rays' leading hitter, for goodness sake.
Yeah, he came into the game hitting .336.
That cannot come out.
There's a strike to Logan Forsythe.
I was not aware of those comments, and I think those might be the comments of the year for me.
I love them, don't you?
That confidence. You know, that not cocky, confidence.
Sharply hit. It skips by Desmond and into center field. Boy, for a moment you're afraid that might be a double play ball, and it got beneath Desmond's glove, and so the Rays have 2 men on now with nobody out.
It should have been. I know that ball was hit hard by Logan Forsythe. Doesn't change the fact that Ian Desmond has got to make that play. That has been a trouble spot for the Nationals all year, and just miscalculated.
And they're going to charge him with an error.
Yeah, I mean,
16 on the year. There's a strike, so boy, the Rays get a break here. Ground ball, shortstop. Desmond comes up with it, stumbles, and still manages to get the force at third. And boy, he really struggled to make that play.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a struggle all season long. And this is a big year for Ian Desmond, which we talked about. His walk year. Another ground ball, gets to it, but then a little stumble prevents anything from that play right there. They're able to just get Longoria.
Here's Asdrubal Cabrera. 3-2 ball game now. Pitch is low. Two men on, one away. It's fouled out of play. Well, they're going to take the error off the scoring table and credit Forsythe with a base hit on that ball he just hit that got by Desmond. 2 balls and a strike. So the Rays will get an additional hit, and that gives Forsythe 2 for 3 tonight.
You wonder what constitutes an error anymore. I mean, really, if that's not one, I guess it has to be like medium speed and right at the guy with a nice hop, and then maybe it qualifies as an error. Other than that, it's just unbelievable, unreal effort.
I hear what you're saying.
I like to hit for Logan Forsythe as much as anybody, but an error's an error, and that's an error.
Two count on Cabrera. Here's a base hit into right field. Forsythe will be stopped at third. The throw is wild, and it's going to go into the Rays dugout. Forsythe will score. Souza will go to third, and Harper's hurt in right field.
That leg collapsed on the throw. He went to throw it in, and just the leg collapsed, and the ball was offline and rolled into the Rays dugout. That do not like the look of that.
Well, that's a base hit and an error charge to Harper, but from the Washington perspective, they are more concerned about that left leg right now. So the Rays will get the tying run across the plate. Take a look again. So Forsythe scores. Here's an isolated shot of Harper.
Tough to tell.
So that knee buckled on him. And that's a serious development here in Washington. And they're not going to take any chances at all. You see him limping as he leaves the field. And boy, for a team with such great expectations, and the guy who was having such a great year for them, trying to get a full season in, this is a serious moment for the Nationals. So the Nationals will hope for the best. And so Harper leaves the game, and that leaves a big void in a lot of ways for Matt Williams' team. Well, the Rays open this inning with a home run, and we're going to get a pitching change as well. twister, 87 pitches on that errant throw, with Harper's knee giving out on him, and the throw went into the dugout. So the placement of runners will give Souza the plate, and Cabrera will be stationed at third. Blake Trinan, who was in the ball game here last night for an inning, is the new pitcher. Clinton Robinson takes over in right field here in the top of the 6th inning, with the Rays leading 4-3. And David DeJesus now will pinch hit. DeJesus with a man at third, and the Rays trying to pick up another run, given the opportunity with the infield in. And the pitch is too low. So Butler homered to start the inning. Longoria singled. Forsythe got a base hit. Souza forced Longoria at third, and that set up the base hit to right by Cabrera. And on the errant throw back in, the Rays scored both runs, with Cabrera going all the way to third. So the Rays have taken a 4-3 lead. It's now 1-1 on DeJesus.
And Matt Williams doesn't want to see this lead increase at all. That's why Blake Trinan, the ability to get a strikeout, which is what you desperately need here.
Trinan was in the game last night in that 1 inning, struck out 2, gave up a couple hits and 2 unearned runs. It's a foul ball, and it's now 1-2. DeJesus faced him and singled off him last night in the 8th. Brandon Gomes up in the Rays bullpen. And a fly ball back into deep center field. Span on the run, and he cannot make the catch off the wall. Cabrera trots home. DeJesus heads to third, and he will stop there with a triple. Booming triple to center field by David DeJesus to make it 5-3.
Boy, and what a heck of an at bat there by David DeJesus. You know, he's down to 2 strikes. Blake Trinan with electric stuff comes here with the hook, and watch him follow it right down. Recognize it, follow it down, and get underneath it with some lift and power to straightaway center field, and he burns Denard Span.
It's a 4-run inning, and the Rays lead 5-3. Rene Rivera fouls that fastball back, strike 1. Well, a similar situation for Rivera. Infield in, man at third, 1 out. He fouls it.
Joey Butler, the man that got it started with an opposite field home run. Pulled the Rays to within 1. They're now up 2.
He jumped on the first pitch of the inning and hit it out to right. And Rivera is out on strikes. 2 gone. Now Archer's being called back. He was on deck, and the Rays will pinch hit.
You know, this is a move that you don't often see, you know, in the National League. An opportunity to score a run, no question about it. But when you're number 1, and even though he hasn't had the greatest game that we've seen from him this year, when your ace is on the hill and you have the lead, sometimes you'll forego this opportunity to keep him in the game. This shows you how much the Rays love their bullpen.
Well, Nick Franklin will pinch hit, and he fouls it back, strike one. And a little added pressure for Franklin. Pinch hitting here with Archer lifted. The Rays trying to add to their lead with 2 outs. 0-2. And Franklin takes strike 3. 3 pitches, he's out of there. Well, the Rays take the lead. The home run by Joey Butler pulled the Rays to within a run. They scored 2 on the Cabrera base hit and the error, and another one on the triple by DeJesus. Big inning in the 6th for the Rays, and they take the lead.
Open air restaurant where you can have a little dinner, cocktails. It is ladies' night tonight here at Nationals Park, and they're enjoying the game as the Rays take on the Nationals tonight. That's why the porch at Tropicana Field is so popular, because you can sit here, enjoy a cocktail, watch baseball just like you can at the Red Porch, guys. Four in the top of the 6th. Brandon Gomes is the new Rays pitcher. On for the 23rd time.
Well, he'll be one of a stream coming in to try to close this game down. Brandon Gomes on for the 23rd time. 22 1/3 innings of work. You see he's got the walks under control. Good control, good command, 19 strikeouts.
Nick Franklin stays on to play first. Ian Desmond leads off, and the pitch is in there for strike 1. So Franklin, the first baseman, in the 9th spot. Ground ball to third, grabbed by LaGoria. Turns and throws, and that takes care of Ian Desmond.
Boy, that was a nice play by Evan, ranging to his glove side. He's going to go down as he fields that ground ball, spin and throw. That's beautiful.
Well, here's Michael Taylor. Strike 1. One ball, one strike. Well, Gomes was announced last night and went out to the mound when the rain delay came. So he was officially in the game but never made a pitch. 1-2 now the count. Working the 6th inning tonight. And he strikes out Taylor.
You know, Brandon,
pitch disappeared on Taylor.
It did, and you know, that's a new weapon for Brandon Gomes. So often we see him get the vast majority of his strikeouts on the split when he finishes guys off, but now that slider has become much more than a here's a strike pitch. He can take it off the plate and, much like you just described, make it disappear maybe.
Well, 2 up and 2 down. He'll face Dan Uggla, who will pinch hit now for the right-hander Trinan. One ball, no strikes. And he cues this one foul up the right side. They picked up by Franklin. Uggla made this team out of spring training. He was a non-roster player in camp. Strike at the knees, and it's 1-2. And he has 234 career home runs, 36 in 2011, then 19, 22, and over the last year plus just 3. Bounces it to the left side. The scoop and the throw in time, and it's a 1-2-3-6. Cabrera handles that one. On to the 7th. 5-3 Rays. This is brought to you by Tampa Bay Radiation Oncology. When cancer strikes, strike back with CyberKnife. By Hattrick's Tavern, who is proud to introduce Hattrick's Catering. By Kubota. To find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. And by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Rays and the Nationals from Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. tonight. The Rays will see hard-throwing right-hander David Carpenter following Blake Trinan. 5 runs off Pfister in 5 1/3. Trinan 2/3, and now Carpenter.
On for the third time here with the Nationals after coming over from the Yankees. The Rays have seen him a couple of times now with the Nationals, as well as a few times while a member of the New York Yankees. So they're familiar with how he's going to attack him. He does have good stuff.
Kevin Kiermaier, the top of the order in there for the Rays. A bouncer to the right side, backhanded by Espinosa, race to the bag, and Carpenter just got there in time to get Kiermaier.
Well, you got to go. A ball to the right side, there can be zero hesitation from the pitcher getting off the mound, because Kiermaier is going to close ground quickly, and here it comes. Oh, he makes that close.
So Carpenter beat him in. One away. For Archer tonight, 89 pitches for 5 innings of work. He gave up 3 runs, 8 hits, struck out 3 and walked 2, and leaves with a chance to be the winner. Here's Joey Butler. He opened the 4-run 6th with his 5th home run of the year. Butler hitting it out to right field. 1-1 now. You know, he had a home run on the first pitch against Baltimore off Wei-Yin Chen. Same thing, right field. Cut and a miss on the fastball. So 3 of his home runs have been to right field. He hit one off CC Sabathia. Foul back now, 1-2. So for Butler, he has a home run to left, 1 to center, and 3 to right.
Yeah, and countless numbers of base hits up the middle and the other way. He waits on the ball an awfully long time.
And is out on strikes this time. 2 up and 2 down. Carpenter with great velocity and the slider. Here's Evan Longoria. Evan 1 for 3 on the night. Liner into center. There's a base hit off a fastball. Back through the middle. And the second hit to center field for Evan tonight. Brings up Logan Forsythe. Logan 2 for 3. Carpenter will be 30 years old next month. Last year with Atlanta, started this year with the Yankees, and now here in Washington. Missed with the fastball again. It's 2-0. Snap throw down to first. They throw it away. Longoria is going to go to second. Ramos trying to pick him off first, and he threw it by Espinosa. Third error of the year charged to the Washington catcher. And it's a 3-0 count on Forsythe now.
Easy pitch here to handle for Ramos. Watching his pitcher fall behind 3-0 got what amounted to almost a pitch out. But that throw short and gets out into right field, and now the Rays get a runner in scoring position.
Well, a great opportunity for the Rays with 2 outs. It's taken for strike 1. Yankees have taken a 5-3 lead in the bottom of the 7th inning on Miami. Blue Jays lead at home over the Mets 7-1 in the bottom of the 8th. And Forsythe is aboard. So with 2 outs, 2 men have reached on a base hit by Longoria and the walk to Forsythe. That will get Steven Souza Jr. to the plate. Tonight's Cold Hard Facts are brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. The American League rookie and the rankings: home runs, Souza top of the list. Same thing, RBIs, extra base hits and walks, third in steals. Strike 1. He has scored twice tonight. Singled and scored in the 2nd, reached on a fielder's choice and scored in the 6th inning, and reached on an error and was caught trying to steal in the 4th. And he misses a slider. 2 strikes. This one to the backstop. It comes halfway back to the mound as the runners move up. Wild pitch here, an 0-2 pitch. So now Longoria is at third. Forsythe is at second.
Well, ahead in the count, trying to yank a slider down and away, and it gets away from Ramos. Scoots right by him, and then off the backstop and right back to him.
So 1 and 2 with 2 men in scoring position.
Boy, find some open ground here and can push this thing out to a 4-run ball game that quickly.
A pop up on the right side, foul ball, and Ramos makes the catch. So the Rays lead 2 in the 7th, and they lead by 2, 5-3. the 7th. The 6th inning, the big inning for the Rays. Joey Butler opened it with a home run off Doug Fister. Before that inning was over, the Rays got a base hit from Logan Forsythe. And then here's the injury on the base hit to right by Cabrera, and the throw back in. That allowed 2 runs to score. Cabrera wound up at third. And the injury to Harper. And then the triple, pinch hit triple by David DeJesus got another run home to cap a 4-run inning. So the Rays hold a 2-run edge. Brandon Gomes had a perfect 6th inning. And Kevin Jepson is on now to work the 7th inning with Span. Bernard Span leading off. Pitch is in there for a strike. Archer for 5, Gomes for 1, and now Jepson. Up the middle and a base hit into center. Lead-off base hit. That's the 9th hit of the ball game for Washington, and it will get Anthony Rendon up there.
Rendon, he swung the bat well since getting back into the lineup, finding his way on base. Bernard Span goes up the middle there, so you've got a good base runner on. You're nursing a 2-run lead. It's time to go to work.
Strikeout in the first, a strikeout in the second, and a ground ball to third in the 4th. He takes a high fastball.
Well, you want to get him reaching for something. Maybe trying to do a little bit too much. Hit you a ground ball right here.
It's a ball. 2-0. Jepson worked an inning last night. Came on and got Robinson, Espinosa, and Desmond. Strike on the edge. 2-1. Jepson is behind 3 balls and a strike.
You're starting to venture into some territory here that you do not want to find yourself in.
Jake McGee up.
Yeah. You're realizing that this is the game and you're going to have to piece it together. However, whatever it takes at this point.
Ground ball back to the mound. Jepson with the throw back to second, out and the throw to first. In time, the Rays get the double play. Jepson a little double pump on his way back to second on that throw, and the Rays get the double play.
First of all, Ian Desmond swings at a ball that's maybe ball 4, and you get that candy hop, and you just, that's what it was. That little double clutch is you're waiting for Asdrubal Cabrera to get there. And then you almost yank the throw out into left center field. Actually, a really nice adjustment made by Cabrera right here as he's coming to the bag to reach back, still find second base, and continue that throw.
Yeah, Cabrera continues to be remarkable in the middle of the Rays infield. And there's another example of it. Now here's Yanel Escobar taking the pitch for a ball. Big double play turned by the Rays after that leadoff single by Span and then falling behind Rendon 3-1.
Everybody can now take a deep breath because it was looking a little dicey there for a few pitches.
And a base hit up the middle. Escobar is on again. So a 2-out single. Yeah, it was feeling dicey all the way until you saw Cabrera come up with that throw to get the first out and then complete the double play.
Well, from our vantage point up here on Kilimanjaro, that throw, little sidearm throw,
yes,
looked like it was destined for grass.
It was going to be behind Cabrera, and
yes,
he made a great adjustment to not only take the throw and get the first out, but then turn it into a double play.
Now, he's got such tremendous baseball instinct, soft hands, his feet are good around the bag. We saw that right there.
Now here's Robinson taking a pitch outside. Robinson hitting in the place of Harper, who was 1 for 3. Harper had to leave the game in the 6th inning. 2-0, and his knee collapsed as he made a throw from right field.
You know, you'll remember too, he had sat out a game or two before the Rays series with the Nationals started. He got hit on that left knee by a pitch. So you wonder if maybe that had anything to do.
Robinson over this pitch. Cut and a miss. 2-1.
The only positive thing that you can say about what happened with Bryce Harper is at least he wasn't helped or carried off the field.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
Absolutely. Three balls and a strike. Runner at first, 2 outs. And he walks it. Well, that pushes Escobar up to second. 2 men on with 2 men out. Jim Hickey will trot to the mound before the Rays face Wilson Ramos. So the Rays talk it over. Then a reminder, it's Throwback Rays Day, brought to you by Chrysler. Submit the best vintage photo of yourself by using the hashtag #ThrowbackRays. We'll select the best photo and feature it in tonight's postgame show. Post-game show coming up. The Rays will be moving on to Cleveland to open a 3-game weekend series there. Night games Friday and Saturday, day game on Sunday. Ramos 0 for 2. He walked his first time up. He's lined to right and gone out pitcher first. The first pitch is a ball. Jepson has made 15 pitches, 9 of which have been out of the strike zone. And Ramos cuts loose with a swing and a miss there.
And he's been helped a couple of times. You think about the 3-1 pitch to Desmond, wasn't exactly a fastball out over the heart of the plate. And that pitch right there that Ramos swung and missed at was maybe off.
Ground ball right side. Jepson's going to have to cover. He gets there in time to make the play. And that retires Washington. On to the 8th with the Rays leading 5-3.
Tonight's game summary brought to you by Golden Diamond Source. The sixth, the big inning for the Rays. Joey Butler's home run opened that inning, and the Rays went on to grab the lead. Bryce Harper left that game with an issue to his left leg. And we now go to the eighth. The new pitcher's Casey Janssen, the former Toronto Blue Jay. And the pitch to Asdrubal Cabrera is a strike. Jansen was in the game last night. One and one. He worked the ninth inning in last night's game, gave up a couple hits, picked up a strikeout, no runs. Fly ball lifted into shallow left for Taylor. So one out here in the eighth inning. Well, the pitcher's spot is up, and Brandon Guyer will pinch hit. Gomes originally placed in this spot, and then Jepson took over. And so Guyer will now pinch hit. Pitch is down. The Rays playing with a four-man bench, and they have just Kurt Casale, the catcher, left on the bench now. Look out, a shot back off the pitcher Jansen. He recovers and tosses it to first. So a comebacker off the bat of Guyer.
That ball was smoked, and Casey Jansen, he gets hit, recovers, makes the play, and I like what he does afterwards. He just starts running back to the mound, and that's his way of telling the bench, don't even think about coming out here. I'm totally fine.
Here's Rene Rivera. The pitch is a strike. Ball game in the top of the eighth.
Casey Jansen, same pitcher as he was in Toronto. He works fast. He throws a lot of strikes. Tempo pitcher.
1-2. Two balls, two strikes to Rivera.
Well, you go back and look at what he did with Toronto starting in 2012. 22 saves, 13. He had 34 saves, 34 out of 36. 25 saves a year ago. And he gets it done without living in the mid-90s.
Fly ball to right. Robinson going back, still on the move, and he makes the catch. Boy, he just did have enough reach to haul that one in, and the Rays are out in the eighth. Bottom half of the frame coming. Another look at that catch. The Rays lead by 2. Washington, the Rays have a 5-3 lead, and tomorrow on Rays Live, here's what's coming up. The pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Nathan Carnes will be out looking for his 4th win. He is 3-3. Our coverage begins at 6:30, and Orestes will break down Cleveland's second baseman Jason Kipnis. Jake McGee on to work the bottom of the 8th inning. And he'll have Danny Espinosa to lead off. Then Ian Desmond and Michael Taylor.
Boy, how about the strike to walk ratio in 11 innings? 18 punch outs, just 1 walk.
The pitch is outside.
Jake McGee has not worked since the 13th, so it's been 5 days, and his last 3 appearances have led to 3 saves. A little bit different role here tonight.
Liner into left field. That's going to be over the head of Butler, bounding off the wall. Espinosa's on his way to second with a double.
We saw Danny Espinosa early in the ball game off Chris Archer swing through 2 changeups and then take a 96-mile-an-hour fastball right back up the middle left-handed. So we know that he can hit a fastball, and he does it here again, this time from the right side, and that was a missile.
So a leadoff 2-base hit, and the Nationals have a threat. That gets the potential tying run to the plate in Ian Desmond. There's a strike. Desmond 0 for 3. 3 ground balls out of Desmond tonight. And this one overpowers him. 0-2.
Yeah, any chance of getting to that fastball, he's going to have to start it a little sooner. Jake McGee is coming with the first 2 fastballs, middle of the plate, middle in.
Strike 3 call. So Desmond out on 3 pitches. Hard stuff that just kept getting harder.
Yeah, and closer to him, which makes it even tougher to get the head out and make contact. And this one just locks him up. 97. That's just a perfect pitch.
Here's Michael Taylor. Taylor singled and scored back in the 2nd inning. Strike 1. It's out of play. Another fastball and fouled to the opposite side. Taylor last year was up for 17 games, got the first big league home run out of the way, has 5 this year. McGee ahead of him, 0-2. And gets him looking.
I mean, what are you going to do with that? 98. The big change we've seen in this outing from Jake McGee is after Espinosa shot that ball into left field, he has moved the fastball middle in and just locking hitters up. It's hard enough to get to that fastball when it's away from you or up, but when he comes close to you, you've got to start it even sooner.
Now Tyler Moore will be the pinch hitter. And the first pitch to him is down. Pop foul, out of play. After that double, Big E got Desmond on a 97-mile-per-hour fastball in, and got Michael Taylor on a 98-mile-per-hour fastball in. One and one with Moore. And by him, 97.
And everything, he's moving close to these right-handed hitters. We normally don't see this from Jake McGee. He's usually up and away. Tonight, it's been in after Espinoza, and you're just forcing these hitters to get it started even sooner. And they've not been able to.
1-2, and a liner into center field. Over to make the catch is Kiermaier to retire the side. Leadoff double, the man left. We go to the ninth. 5-3 Rays. Lead this ball game. Don't forget, Rays Live, the post game presented by Checkers. Part of our continuing coverage follows this game. Richard Arrest is anchoring from the studio. Kevin Cash will hold his press conference, and Todd Callis will have interviews from the clubhouse. Felipe Rivero, hard-throwing left-hander, enters the game. Rivero originally signed with the Rays and has made his way to the big leagues this year, making his 7th appearance. Hard-throwing lefty out of Venezuela. He was part of the Nathan Carnes deal. Carnes will be pitching tomorrow for the Rays in Cleveland. He'll pitch outside. Franklin, pinch hit in the 6th, was called out on strikes. Lines it toward the gap into left center. That's going to go all the way to the wall. Span will have to go get it. And in at second base with the double Nick Franklin. So Rivero greeted by a double from Franklin. For the Rays, that's a dozen hits tonight. Now here's Kevin Kiermaier. Well, Kevin singles to start this game. He is 1 for 4 on the night. Rays with an opportunity to pick up an insurance run. Oh, that's a strike call. He was going to at least showing a possibility of a bunt. Thought the pitch was high, and so that's a strike.
Well, looking for any way to get Franklin over to third here with less than 2 outs. You'd love to drive him in, but at minimum you want to move him 90 feet.
And he bunts this one, but foul, and now it's 0-2.
You know, the square around, and then Kevin Kiermaier a little bit late with, you know, he's kind of jabbing at the pitch, and that's a tough way to bunt. You know who put on a clinic today bunting was Doug Fister from the left side. You know, he sets the angle, he's out there, and, you know, against Chris Archer, it's probably not a very comfortable bunt. Lays it down and made it look easy. He'll swing the bat here.
Lifts a fly ball into left. That's Taylor there to make the catch for the out. The Rays saw Rivero at Tropicana Field Tuesday. He pitched the 8th inning of that game and picked up a couple of strikeouts. He'll face Joey Butler right now. The Butler's home run in the 6th inning to right field started that 4-run frame.
It looked at that point like Doug Fister was settling in and was going to cruise so he could turn it over to the back end of the bullpen. That's a big home run. It kind of got the Rays going, and they would have a big 6th.
Takes a big cut, misses the fastball for a strike. Rays got a run in the 2nd and 4 runs in the 6th inning. It's 1-1. Down by his back foot. 2-1. Yankees have opened a 7-3 lead in the bottom of the 8th inning in New York over the Marlins. Boston leading Atlanta 5-2, bottom of the 7th, with the Braves hitting. Phillies beat Baltimore 2-1. Takes the count to 2-2 on Butler, and the Blue Jays defeated the Mets 7-1. Chris Colabello hit a home run. He has 5 home runs now for the Blue Jays. A lot of things falling into place for the Blue Jays.
Well, yeah, you think about what Donaldson has done for that lineup since coming over. Colabello, April last year with Minnesota, the numbers that he put up off the charts. Started to do it again.
Chopper toward the middle, dropped by Rendon. The throw to first. He recovered in time to get him, and over to third base goes Franklin.
And Joey Butler making a bid to try to sneak that ball up the middle, try to get himself another run batted in. Chopper over the mound. There's Rendon. Well, I'll tell you, the Nats and their heirs, they were actually on a pretty good roll of playing good, fundamentally sound baseball. Last couple of nights, not so much.
Well, 3 errors tonight and 3 errors last night. Longoria takes a strike. They've committed 45 errors this year. Evan with a couple hits, single in the 6th and a single in the 7th. Trying to get one here in the ninth. Fly ball, right field. Clint Robinson in line, and he's got it. Leadoff double, and the Rays leave a man at third. We go to the bottom of the ninth. 5-3. With the Rays on top. Reminder, Rays fans, the Express, Rays Fan Express, ready to transport you straight to the action at the Trop. To book this luxury motor coach for your group, call 727-825-3406 or email groupsales@raysbaseball.com. Brad Boxberger making his 27th appearance. He's 4-3 and 15 of 17 in save situations. Pitcher number 5 for the Rays tonight.
Well, we knew it was going to be a collaboration coming out of that bullpen. Not sure ever what the order's going to be, but we're down to what the Rays hope is their final guy, Brad Boxberger.
Well, there you see top of the order. Bernard Span, Anthony Rendon, and then Yunel Escobar. Span has been on 3 times tonight. Important to keep him off the bases. He opened the first with a walk, stole the base, and scored the first of 2 runs in that inning.
Yeah, a couple of reasons why. He creates havoc out there in the base paths, and number 2, it brings the tying run to the plate.
1-1 to count. And 2 balls and a strike. Boxberger behind him, 3-1. Brad making his first appearance in this home 4-game matchup with Washington. And he gets a strike to take the count to 3-2.
And that pitch right there has now opened the possibility for the fastball or the changeup, because he just threw a 3-1 changeup. Unpredictable, and now all options on the table here for Boxberg.
And a foul ball.
And he forced a swing right there on a changeup that was probably not going to be a strike. that very, very close. And that's what you force Span to do, is protect, but he's not protecting against just one pitch. And that was borderline, and I'll bet you that that probably does not get called, but too close to take.
Three-two again. He got him. Struck him out with a fastball.
Well, that right there was set up by the two previous pitches. The little bit of doubt that a 3-1 changeup that will put in your mind as a hitter. And now you're like, well, I got to cover. Okay, now go. And it's too late. That ball's belt high, middle of the plate, and see you later. See how late he was, too.
Anthony Rendon. And the pitch is a strike. One and one. Well, the Rays have been very good this year when they've scored first, and struggled when they have not. And this is a game in which they did not score first. Washington put up 2 in the very first inning. It's foul the other way. Coming in, the Rays were just 10 and 25 when the opposition scores first. They're 26 and 5 when they score first.
Yeah, that's the formula. Get the lead, ride that starter for as long as you can, turn it over to the bullpen and lock it down. And tonight the script a little bit different, but you've got to credit the Rays hitters just continuing to battle Fister before finally breaking through in the 6th. David DeJesus had a part in it. All started by Joey Butler and that home run the opposite way.
The 1-2 upstairs, fastball, and he laid off. It's 2-2. Strike 3 call. He got him looking on a fastball. So back-to-back strikeouts, one swinging, this one looking, both with the hard stuff.
And Anthony Rendon, there's nothing for him to say, and he understands it. This is just a perfectly placed fastball, knee high, right on the outside corner. That is a thing of beauty if you're a pitcher.
Now Chanel Escobar. He takes a big cut, fouls it back. That's a strike. The Yankees have opened a 9-3 lead now on Miami, with Boston leading Atlanta 5-2. The Orioles lost today to the Phillies 2-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Toronto Blue Jays beat the Mets 7-1. 2-1 to count on Yunel Escobar. Boxberger trying to put an end to this one. Strike 2 called. 2-2.
I didn't see anything. Did you see anything?
What are you talking about? 2-2. Here we go. This one off the mitt of Rivera, and we have a full count.
You know why that's off the mitt? Because in trying to get the borderline pitch, Rene Rivera will try to keep the meaty part of his hand on the outside corner and just catch that in the tip of the webbing. And that's why he didn't miss that because he was being lazy. Any other reason, he was just trying to keep that mitt as close to the plate as he could on a borderline pitch.
Line drive, that's going to fall for a base hit. And Escobar is on for the 5th time tonight.
That is his 3rd 5-hit game this year.
Pretty amazing.
That really is.
So he's 5 for 5 tonight. And it gets Clint Robinson up here. He took over in the 6th inning when Harper had to leave with the injury. Each team with 12 hits tonight. Ground ball to first. This should do it. Franklin steps on the bag and the Rays are winners. Rays take this one 5-3 tonight, knocking off the Washington Nationals. For Washington in the 9th, no runs, a hit, and a man left. And so the Rays